My name is Adrian Cross, and I'm 29 years old. For as long as I can remember, my life has been tied to one place, my family's restaurant. People in town call it a family legacy, passed down from my grandfather to my father, and now run by all of us together. But if you want the truth, it's not run by all of us. It's run by me. I don't just manage the place. I am the place. I keep the ovens lit, the tables full, and the lights on. Officially, my title is administrator. In reality, I'm the chef when our cook calls in sick, the waiter. When someone doesn't show up, the accountant at midnight. When bills pile up, and the event planner when someone wants their special day to be flawless. Advertising, supplier negotiations, payroll, broken sink repairs. I've done it all. Sometimes I wonder if I've sold my 20s to the restaurant, but then I remind myself this is family. And family matters, right? Or at least that's what I used to believe. My parents, Richard and Evelyn, like to think of themselves as a team. Dad inherited the restaurant from my grandfather, so to him, it's his bloodline carved into brick and mortar. Mom manages the books, fusses over costs, and tries to polish Dad's stubbornness with her version of pragmatism. I won't lie. There were times when I thought we made a decent trio. Then again, maybe I was blinded by loyalty. Because if you ask them who their pride and joy is, they wouldn't say me. They'd point to my younger sister, Lila. Lila is 20, a college student studying fashion design. Dreamer, artist, the one with a shining future. My parents see her as untouchable. She barely sets foot in the restaurant unless she's here to grab cash or strut around in whatever new outfit she's bought with Dad's credit card. She doesn't like smelling like fried food, as she puts it. To her, what I do is menial, unglamorous, not creative. I used to let her comments roll off my back. If she wanted to dream about Paris runways while I scrubbed grease traps at midnight, fine. At least one of us was being useful. Still, I was proud of what I built inside that restaurant. Over the years, I developed a reputation with regular customers. They'd ask for me by name when booking events, birthdays, weddings, corporate dinners. I liked the challenge of making everything run like clockwork, turning chaos into something seamless. That was my gift. Not fashion, not Paris, but precision reliability. Which is why the night I landed the Morrison Group event, I felt like I'd finally brought something monumental to the family. The Morrison Group is one of the biggest companies in our city, celebrating their 20th anniversary. 200 guests, premium package, full bar service. It was going to be the most lucrative event our restaurant had seen in years, at least 15 grand in revenue, maybe more. When I walked into Dad's office to tell him I felt lighter than I had in months. Dad, you're not going to believe this, I said, nearly bouncing on my heels. He looked up from his paperwork, clearly expecting me to tell him the fryer broke again. I booked the Morrison Group's anniversary party. 200 guests. Premium everything. For the first time in a long while, I saw him smile. Really. How much are we talking? At least 15 grand. Maybe more. Mom poked her head in. Just then, her eyes lighting up when she heard the number. Adrian. That's wonderful news. When is it scheduled? May 15th. Saturday night. I already blocked the date. Dad leaned back, looking satisfied. Good work, son. This could finally let us upgrade that ancient oven. Hearing that good work, son, was like water in a desert. It wasn't often I got acknowledgement. For a fleeting second, I thought maybe they finally saw me. The following week was a whirlwind of preparation. I contacted our best suppliers, mapped out the menu, researched decorations that would impress the Morrison executives. Their event coordinator praised my attention to detail. I threw myself into it with everything I had. For once, I felt proud, not just for me, but for us. This event could change the trajectory of the restaurant. It was proof that I was more than just the kid in the back cleaning dishes at midnight. But even in those moments of triumph, there was this faint tug inside me. Call it intuition, like a storm forming on the horizon that nobody else notices yet. Because in my family, good things never lasted long. A week later, Dad called me into his office again. His tone wasn't celebratory this time. Mom was already seated, her lips pressed into a thin line. My stomach tightened. Adrian, we need to talk, Dad said. I braced myself. About what? Your sister's birthday, Mom said softly. She's turning 21 in 2 weeks. We've decided to throw her a proper party here at the restaurant. I nodded. Okay, that's nice. What date are you thinking? I can check the calendar? The look they exchanged should have told me everything. Dad cleared his throat. She wants May 15th, Says it's the only date that works with her college schedule. All her friends can come that night. I felt the air drain from the room. Dad. May 15th is the Morrison event. I know he said with that gruff tone that always meant he thought the conversation was over. No, you don't understand. I signed a contract. 200 guests. This is the biggest booking we've had all year. We can't cancel. Andrian Mom interrupted her voice. Patient but sharp family comes first. The company will understand. I blinked at them, stunned. Understand. Do you realize what canceling means? We'll be called unreliable. No one will trust us with large events again. We're talking about destroying our reputation. Your sister is more important than some random corporation, Dad snapped. I felt my throat tighten. Do you hear yourselves? This isn't about family. This is about favoritism. Lila wants, so we sacrifice. Always. Dad's eyes narrowed. Watch your tone. And right there in that suffocating little office, something inside me cracked. I realized the Morrison event wasn't just about money. It was about validation, proof that I mattered. And in one dismissive decision, they stripped that from me, handing my efforts over to Lila's birthday candles and champagne glasses. That night, I stared at the ceiling of my apartment, unable to sleep. The storm I'd sensed on the horizon had arrived, and I had no idea just how much damage it was about to cause. The morning after my parents dropped the bomb about Lila's birthday, I walked into the restaurant with a knot in my chest. The smell of coffee and grilled bacon, usually comforting, felt heavy. I'd spent the night replaying their words, family comes first. But what they really meant was Lila comes first. The Morrison Group's event was less than 2 weeks away. Invitations were already sent, entertainment booked, executives flying in from out of state. And yet my parents wanted me to wave a magic wand and make it disappear for Lila's 21st birthday. As I scrubbed down the counter, my phone buzzed. It was the Morrison event coordinator, confirming menu details. My hand trembled as I typed back cheerful reassurances, knowing I was about to betray her trust. By noon, Dad summoned me to his office again. His face was unreadable, but Mom was there too, clasping her hands like she was bracing for a storm. Andrian, Dad said, "Have you told the Morrison people yet?" I stared at him. Told them. What? That we're throwing away $15,000 because Lila wants balloons and cake on the same night. His jaw clenched. Don't be dramatic, just call them. Tell them there's been an emergency. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. An emergency. What kind of emergency conveniently cancels a 200-person event 2 weeks before? Say the oven broke, or a water pipe burst. Anything, Dad said, waving a dismissive hand. My chest burned. Do you think these people are idiots? Do you know how fast word spreads in this industry? If we cancel, we're finished with corporate events. Done. Andrian Mom interrupted, her tone clipped but calm. You're overreacting. People will understand if it's family. No, I said firmly. They won't. They'll blacklist us. Silence hung between us, thick and suffocating. Then Dad leaned back in his chair, his voice cold. You'll figure it out. That's your job. I walked out of the office in a daze. For years, I had bent over backward for this restaurant, sacrificed weekends, holidays, relationships. And yet in one stroke, they erased all of it. That evening, I sat in my apartment with the phone pressed to my ear, dreading the call I was about to make. The Morrison coordinator answered on the second ring. Andrian, good to hear from you. Are we finalizing the wine list? She asked brightly. I swallowed hard. Actually, I'm afraid there's been a development. We won't be able to host your event. The silence on the other end felt like a blade. Then her voice came sharp with disbelief. I'm sorry, what, Andrian? We've already sent invitations, booked entertainment, arranged travel for executives. Do you have any idea what this means for us? I know. I am so sorry. It's a family. I don't care if it's a family funeral. This is unprofessional, completely unacceptable. My throat ached. But she cut me off. We'll be leaving reviews. People will know not to trust your establishment again. The line went dead. I sat there, phone limp in my hand, feeling sick. By morning, the reviews were already live, scathing 1-star ratings plastered across every platform. Unreliable, unprofessional, avoid at all costs. When I walked into the restaurant, the staff avoided my eyes. They'd seen the reviews. They knew. I wanted to scream at my parents, look at what you made me do. But I didn't. I just went through the motions, waiting for the next blow. It came sooner than I thought. Dad called another family meeting that afternoon. His tone was businesslike, but his eyes carried none of the shame I expected. Mom sat beside him, papers in her lap. We've decided to make some changes around here, Dad began. I leaned back, arms crossed. Changes like what? Maybe taking accountability for tanking our biggest booking. He ignored me. We're cutting staff. Most of the kitchen crew, half the waiters. It felt like someone punched me in the chest. What are you, insane? We can't run this place without them. We need the money, Dad said, flat and unapologetic. For what? Repairs. Debt marketing. To fix the damage. Mom finally spoke, her voice carrying a note of false cheer. Lila's internship in Paris. You know how important this is for her future. Plus, she's been looking at a white SUV. A car would be a wonderful gift before she leaves. I stared at them, my mouth dry. You're firing loyal staff to buy Lila a car. Don't exaggerate, Dad snapped. We'll keep 2 chefs and 2 waiters. That's plenty. Plenty for what? Serving a handful of customers at lunch. What about events? Weddings, birthdays. Do you expect me to cook, serve, and manage all by myself? You're good at multitasking, Mom said gently, like it was a compliment. I felt my blood pressure spike. This is madness. You cut our biggest event for Lila, and now you're gutting the staff for her Paris trip. Do you hear yourselves? But Dad just leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Watch your tone, Andrian. You sound ungrateful. Everything we do for family. Family. My voice cracked. No. You do everything for Lila. I stormed out before I said something I couldn't take back. Out in the kitchen, Marcus, our head chef, pulled me aside. Is it true? He asked quietly. Are they cutting half the staff? I nodded. I tried to stop them. His jaw tightened. This place won't survive that. You can't run a restaurant on a skeleton crew. Not one worth its salt. I know, my voice broke. But they won't listen. Marcus sighed, wiping his hands on his apron. Then get ready, Andrian, because things are about to get ugly. That night, lying awake again, I thought about what Marcus said. Ugly. The word echoed in my mind. I thought about the Morrison coordinator's voice dripping with fury, about the staff who'd soon lose their jobs, about the way Dad's words, watch your tone, still rang in my ears like a slap. I thought about Lila blissfully oblivious, probably planning outfits for her Paris trip while the rest of us were left to burn. And for the first time, I wondered if I'd made a mistake. Not just about the Morrison event, not just about fighting with my parents, but about staying. Because maybe, just maybe, the real problem wasn't the restaurant. Maybe the real problem was that I had chained myself to people who would never ever see me. The layoffs happened faster than I expected. One day we had a full kitchen humming with the rhythm of familiar hands. Waiters darting between tables with practiced ease. The next day, silence. Half the team gone, their lockers emptied, their names crossed off the schedule in Mom's sharp handwriting. I stood by the back door that morning, watching Marcus shake hands with a line cook who'd just been dismissed. The man had tears in his eyes. 3 years, Andrian, he said, voice trembling. I gave them 3 years, and I don't even get 2 weeks' notice. I wanted to apologize, but what good were words? All I could say was, I'm sorry. This isn't what I wanted. Marcus pulled me aside once the last of them left. His eyes were hard, his voice low. They're making a mistake. You know that, right? I know. This place is going to collapse without proper staff. You can't carry it all. I've been carrying it for years, I muttered. But even I have limits. Marcus clapped a hand on my shoulder, his gaze almost pitying. Then maybe it's time you asked yourself how much more you're willing to bleed for people who don't see you. His words burrowed into me like splinters. The next week was chaos. Orders delayed, service sloppy, customers restless. I sprinted from the kitchen to the dining room apron, soaked with sweat, notebooks stuffed with supplier lists and overdue bills. Lila breezed in one afternoon, her perfume filling the air like she was walking a runway. She flopped into a booth with 2 friends, laughing loudly, oblivious to the frantic staff juggling plates behind her. Andrian, she called, waving me over. Can you get us 3 lemonades extra ice? I froze for a second. My shirt was damp grease clung to my hands, and I hadn't eaten since sunrise. But I forced a smile and nodded. Sure, Lila. Her friend whispered something to her, and Lila smirked. See, he's always so reliable. I could never do this. Too messy, not creative enough for me. Her words hit harder than she knew. Or maybe she did know. That night I collapsed into bed, my body aching. As I stared at the ceiling, I wondered if I disappeared tomorrow, would they notice? Or would they just stumble around for a bit before Lila swooped in with another dream that demanded all their attention? The thought stung. A week before her party, Dad called me into the office again. I knew from his tone something bad was coming. Andrian, he began, we need to talk about Lila's birthday arrangements. I braced myself. What about them? She's inviting 50 people. That's a lot for our current staffing situation. I laughed bitterly. That's what I've been trying to tell you since you gutted the staff. Dad ignored me. So you'll need to pitch in more than usual. Help with cooking setup service, whatever needs doing. I stared at him. Dad, I already do everything around here. Now you want me to single-handedly run a 50-person party. It's just for one night, he snapped. One night I felt my voice rising. You cut our staff permanently. This won't just be one night, it'll be every big event from now on. And you expect me to carry it? Mom appeared in the doorway, her voice soft but insistent. Adrian, we're family. We help each other out. Something inside me snapped. Family helps each other by not making stupid decisions that sabotage everything we've built. Dad's face darkened. Watch your tone. No, you watch yours, I shot back. You fired half our staff for Lila's Paris trip. You canceled our biggest event for her birthday. And now you expect me to play servant at a party I never agreed to. No, not anymore. That's when Lila walked in, drawn by the shouting. She blinked wide-eyed like a child caught in the crossfire. What's going on? She asked. Mom's eyes brimmed with tears. Your brother is refusing to help with your birthday party. Lila's gaze flicked to me. Adrian, please, it's just one night. I really need this party to be perfect. My chest tightened. For a second, I almost caved. Almost. But then I remembered the Morrison Group's scathing reviews, Marcus's warning, the staff walking out with tears in their eyes. Then our parents should have planned better, I said coldly. Her lips trembled. But if you don't help, they might have to cancel everything. All my friends are expecting. That's not my problem, I cut in. Lila's eyes filled with tears. This is supposed to be the best night of my life. I'm going away for a whole year after this. I looked at her, at Mom's pleading face, at Dad's furious glare, and I realized nothing I did would ever be enough. So I made a choice. That night, in the quiet of my apartment, I opened my laptop and booked a ticket to Hawaii, 2 weeks away, starting 3 days before Lila's party. My first real vacation in 5 years. I used the credit card meant for restaurant emergencies. I figured this qualified. Still, a part of me wanted to leave with dignity. So 2 nights before my flight, I typed up a detailed email for my parents' supplier contacts, inventory lists, schedules, everything they'd need to run the party without me. I hit send at midnight, then shut off my phone. As I zipped my suitcase, a strange calm settled over me. For once, I wasn't the backup plan, I wasn't the safety net. I was free. The morning of my flight, I stood in front of the mirror suitcase by my side. For the first time in years, I wasn't in an apron or a grease-stained shirt. I wore a simple linen button-down, clean jeans, and sneakers that weren't scuffed from running between tables. My reflection looked strange, almost like a stranger staring back. Was this what freedom looked like? Or was I about to commit the most selfish act of my life? Either way, I knew one thing: I couldn't stay. The night before had been brutal. Dad had cornered me in the office one last time, veins bulging in his forehead. You will work this party, Adrian. That's final. I met his glare exhaustion simmering into something sharper. No, I won't. The silence that followed was suffocating. Mom looked like she might cry. Lila, hovering in the doorway, bit her lip until it turned pale. Dad's voice thundered. You're going to embarrass us in front of all her friends. I shot back. No, Dad. You've already embarrassed yourself. Canceling a corporate event for a birthday, firing half our staff for a car and a trip. You want me to cover your mistakes again, but I won't. Adrian, please, Mom whispered. Just this once. This once, my laugh was hollow. Mom, I've covered for every mistake, every holiday, every crisis, every bad decision. I've been your servant, not your son. Lila's eyes glistened as she stepped forward. Adrian, please. If you don't help, the party will fall apart. This is supposed to be the best night of my life. Her words twisted something in me. She was just a girl trying to celebrate a milestone, oblivious to the sacrifices being made in her name. But I couldn't let her innocence erase years of neglect. I shook my head. Then maybe it's time you learned that not every dream gets handed to you. Not every mistake gets covered. Not anymore. I walked out of the office, their stunned silence following me like shadows. That was the final straw. 3 days later, I was sitting on a plain window seat, headphones in. As the engines roared and the ground fell away beneath me, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. The seatbelt dug into my lap, but I didn't care. For the first time, I wasn't rushing to fix something, to answer a call, to put out a fire. The world was mine, even if just for 2 weeks. Hawaii waited for me like a dream. The first morning there, I slept until noon. No alarms, no schedules, no frantic texts from Dad demanding I come in early. just sunlight pouring through hotel curtains and the sound of waves crashing outside. I wandered down to the beach, barefoot sand warm under my feet, salt in the air. The ocean stretched endlessly, a horizon that felt like promise. I ordered a Mai Tai from a beach bar and sat in a lounge chair, watching children build sandcastles. I hadn't realized how tightly wound I'd been until my shoulders finally relaxed. It felt like shedding a second skin. By day, curiosity got the better of me. Against my better judgment, I turned my phone back on. 47 missed calls, 30 unread texts. The messages started calm enough. Mom, Andrian, where are you? We need to finalize the party setup. Dad, call me back immediately. This is important. Lila, Andrian, please call me. I'm worried. But then they shifted. Mom, we can't find those good tablecloths. Where did you put them, Dad? The flower vendor wants payment. How do we handle this, Lila, Andrian? I'm begging you. Please just come back. The party will be ruined without you. By day 3, the messages were frantic. Mom, nothing is set up right. The tables look awful. Please help us. Dad, where is the sound system? We can't find anything. Lila, Andrian, this is a disaster. Everyone's going to laugh at me. Then came Marcus. Marcus, your parents hired 2 college kids to help. They don't know what they're doing. Kitchen's a mess. Orders are backed up. Your dad's yelling at everyone. Thought you should know. I stared at the screen, my chest tight. A part of me almost felt bad. Almost. But then I remembered the Morrison Group's humiliation, the staff they fired for Lila's car the years I'd been treated like expendable labor. I powered my phone off again. This time I didn't feel guilty. On the night of Lila's party, I sat on the beach with another Mai Tai, watching the sunset paint the sky in streaks of gold and crimson. Around me, couples laughed, music played, waves crashed. For once I wasn't on the outside looking in. I turned my phone on again just to see. The messages hit like a tidal wave. Mom, Andrian, nothing is working. Please, please come back. Dad, food's a disaster. The decorations look cheap. We can't find anything. Lila, Andrian. I hate this. Everyone's staring. I'm so embarrassed. Please help me. I scrolled through photos Lila had posted online. Wrinkled tablecloths, food that looked like a disaster. Cheap paper decorations drooping. In every shot, she looked like she was on the verge of tears, even as she held up the shiny new keys to her white SUV. It was the perfect metaphor, a glittering gift, masking the chaos underneath. The next morning, one final message appeared. Dad, you're fired. Don't bother coming back. I laughed out loud, the sound startling the couple lounging beside me. Fired from a job where I did everything while they made all the bad decisions. It felt like a release, like chains snapping free. As the waves lapped at the shore, I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. For years, I'd been the glue holding that restaurant together, and now they had cut me loose. The irony. It was the best gift they'd ever given me. Hawaii was paradise. Sunlight painted the mornings gold. The ocean sang me to sleep at night, and for the first time in years, I didn't wake up with the weight of the restaurant pressing down on my chest. I swam, I ate food I hadn't cooked myself. I lay on the beach doing absolutely nothing, and it felt glorious. But freedom had a shadow. Each time I turned my phone back on, reality clawed its way back. The missed calls piled higher. The messages grew darker. Mom, Andrian, we can't find the wine glasses. The ones we use for big events. Where did you put them, Dad? The sound system isn't working. Where's the manual, Lila, Andrian? Everyone's arriving tomorrow. Please, please come back. I can't do this without you. I stared at the screen, sipping my drink under a palm tree. The desperation in their words was almost tangible. Once that would have pulled me back. Once I would have jumped on the first plane home. Not anymore. The night of Lila's party, I sat barefoot in the sand, watching the sun sink into the Pacific. The sky was a masterpiece lavender, fading into crimson waves, catching the light like liquid fire. Around me, tourists laughed, clinked glasses, snapped photos. Meanwhile, 4,000 miles away, my family's restaurant was unraveling. I turned my phone on out of sheer curiosity, half expecting more chaos. I wasn't disappointed. Mom, Andrian, nothing is set up right. The tables look awful. Guests are arriving. We need you. Dad, the food is late. The kitchen is chaos. These kids we hired don't know what they're doing. Where are you, Lila, Andrian? This is the worst night of my life. I'm humiliated. Everyone's staring at me like I'm a joke. Please, please just come back. Then came Marcus's message. Marcus told you this would happen. Your parents brought in 2 college kids as temp staff. They don't know a thing about service. Orders are backed up, kitchen's a mess, your dad's screaming at everyone. Total disaster. I smirked into my glass. Called it, I muttered. The irony wasn't lost on me. For years, I had been their shield, their scapegoat, the one who made the impossible possible. Without me, the cracks were no longer cracks, they were canyons. The next morning, the fallout hit full force. Mom, Adrian, we can't believe you abandoned us like this. The party was a disaster. Everyone is talking about how poorly it was run. We are mortified. Dad, you're fired. Don't come back. Lila, Adrian. How could you do this to me? I'll never forgive you. You ruined my birthday. Everyone laughed at me. I laughed so hard the hotel bartender glanced at me like I was crazy. Fired from the job where I carried them, where I sacrificed every ounce of myself. It was almost poetic. I scrolled through social media. Photos from Lila's party were everywhere. Wrinkled tablecloths, crooked decorations taped sloppily to the walls. Food that looked like it had been thrown together by amateurs, which to be fair, it had. And there was Lila, the supposed star of the night, her smile trembling in every shot, eyes glassy with unshed tears. Even as she clutched the shiny new keys to her white SUV, she looked like a child holding a toy that couldn't fix the mess around her. Guests weren't subtle in their captions' worst party ever. Food took hours, service non-existent. What struck me most wasn't the disaster itself, it was the symbolism. They had traded a thriving business, loyal staff, and my years of sacrifice for a night of glittering failure. A car, an internship, a fantasy. And in return, they got humiliation broadcast across every social feed in town. For the rest of my vacation, I checked the reviews every couple of days. Like watching a slow-motion car crash, I couldn't look away. Used to be reliable, now it's chaos. Food was cold, took 2 hours to get our meal, never coming back. Staff doesn't know what they're doing. Their precious reputation, the thing I had guarded for years, was crumbling just as I had warned. But instead of guilt, I felt liberated, because the truth was, I didn't ruin anything. I simply stopped patching the holes they drilled themselves. One afternoon, lying by the pool, I thought about all the times I'd swallowed my pride for them. The missed birthdays with friends, the canceled dates, the nights I worked until my body ached while Lila danced off with her friends. And I realized something chilling: they had never seen me. Not really. To them, I wasn't Adrian, the son who kept their world intact. I was just useful, replaceable, until I wasn't. The thought didn't make me sad, it made me free. Halfway through my vacation, a new voice entered my inbox. James, General Manager, Meridian Restaurant Group. Adrian. I heard through the grapevine you might be open to new opportunities. We'd love to talk when you're back. I sat up straighter, heart pounding. Meridian, the most prestigious restaurant group in the city. They'd tried to recruit me twice before, but I'd stayed loyal to my family. Now I had nothing tying me down. I typed back, let's schedule an interview when I return. For the first time, the future felt wide open. The last night in Hawaii, I sat on the beach under a sky littered with stars. The waves whispered at the shore, steady and eternal. I thought of my grandfather who had built the family restaurant from nothing. What would he think seeing it now gutted, crumbling, sacrificed for glitter and vanity? A pang of sadness hit me. But then I remembered Dad's words, "You're fired." And suddenly I realized their loss wasn't my burden anymore. I raised my glass to the ocean, letting the salt wind sting my face. "To freedom," I whispered. For the first time in my life, I actually meant it. The plane touched down back home after 2 weeks in Hawaii, but I felt like a different man. My tan skin wasn't the only thing that had changed. My spine felt straighter. My shoulders lighter. For the first time in years, I was walking into my city not as someone chained to a crumbling family business, but as someone with options. Meridian had wasted no time. Within hours of landing, I had an email confirming my interview. When I stepped into the Meridian building, it was like walking into another world. Their lobby gleamed with marble floors, polished brass fixtures, and staff who moved with crisp efficiency. No yelling, no chaos, just smooth precision. James, the general manager, greeted me with a firm handshake. Adrian Cross. Finally. We've been waiting for you. His words sent a strange warmth through me, waiting for me, not tolerating me, not taking me for granted. We walked through the restaurant's state-of-the-art kitchens, immaculate prep stations, servers trained to anticipate needs before customers even voiced them. Everything my parents' restaurant wasn't. During the interview, James leaned forward. "We've heard about you, Adrian. your ability to manage events, your attention to detail, your reputation for holding things together, even under pressure. That's what we need here. I swallowed, unsure how to respond. Praise wasn't something I was used to. Thank you. I'd like to think I did what was necessary. No, James said firmly. You did more than necessary. You kept a sinking ship afloat. That takes skill and grit. By the end of the meeting, the job was mine. Better pay, better hours, a team that respected competence. I walked out of Meridian that afternoon feeling like I'd stepped into sunlight after years in a cellar. Working there was everything I hadn't known I was missing. The staff looked to me for guidance and actually listened when I gave it. When problems arose, solutions didn't fall solely on my shoulders. We solved them as a team. And slowly I began to heal. The constant knot in my chest loosened. The migraines faded. I even started sleeping through the night. For once, I wasn't waking up dreading the day ahead. Instead, I woke up hopeful. Meanwhile, whispers of my parents' restaurant reached me like ghostly echoes. A colleague in the industry mentioned they'd lost another cook. Someone else told me they'd tried to eat there but left after waiting 90 minutes for food that arrived cold. Curiosity drove me to check the reviews one night. Service is awful. Staff rude and inexperienced. Food came out raw. Never again. Used to be decent. Now it's a joke. Each one was like watching bricks fall from a wall I'd once spent years propping up. Part of me ached. Grandpa's legacy was being gutted, but another part of me, the part that had nearly broken under their weight, felt vindicated. This was what happened when arrogance outweighed reason. Months passed. At Meridian, I thrived. I oversaw corporate events larger than anything I'd handled at my family's place, and every time a client praised our flawless execution, I felt a surge of pride. Andrian, you're a lifesaver. One event coordinator said after a wedding reception went off without a hitch. I smiled. Just doing my job. But inside, I knew I wasn't just doing my job. I was excelling, and for the first time, people noticed. Lila left for Paris in the fall. I saw the photos online her, standing at the airport with mom and dad, all smiles and hugs. Caption, off to pursue my dreams in Paris. Thank you to my amazing parents for making this possible. My jaw tightened. Amazing parents. Right. Amazing at sacrificing everyone else for her dreams. Still, I couldn't deny a small pang of envy. Lila had been handed her dream on a silver platter. But then again, maybe it wasn't envy. Maybe it was relief. Because for once, I didn't want what she had. I wanted what I was building. Half a year into my new job, James called me into his office. Andrian Corporate's been watching your work. They're impressed. Efficiencies up, staff turnover down, client satisfaction through the roof. That's you. I blinked. I'm just doing what needs to be done. James smiled. You keep underselling yourself. But we see you. Don't worry, you'll understand soon enough. I left his office with a strange ache in my chest. We see you. Words I'd craved for years, but never heard from the people who should have said them first. And then came the phone call. Andrian Mom's voice quavered, we need to talk. I froze. I hadn't heard her sound like that before, small, fragile. What's going on? Can you come by the restaurant? It's important. Against my better judgment, I agreed. When I walked into the dining room, I almost didn't recognize it. The walls were dull paint peeling. Half the tables were empty, even though it was peak dinner time. The air felt heavy, joyless. Dad sat slumped at a corner table, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Mom gestured for me to sit. Andrian Dad said, his voice stripped of bluster, we're in trouble. Real trouble. What kind of trouble? I asked cautiously. The last decent cook quit a month ago, Mom whispered. We hired a kid from culinary school, but he's clueless. Orders take forever. Customers complain constantly. We haven't had a single private event in 6 months. I glanced around at the empty room. I can see that. Dad leaned forward, desperation in his eyes. We need you to come back. You're the only one who can turn this around. I almost laughed. Come back. You fired me, remember? That was a mistake, Mom said quickly. We were angry. We weren't thinking. No, I said coldly. You were thinking. You were just thinking about Lila. Mom's eyes brimmed with tears. She's not coming back, Andrian. She called last week. She's met someone in Paris. Says she's getting married and staying there. I stared at them. Shock giving way to bitter amusement. So the daughter you sacrificed everything for the car, the internship, the staff, the reputation she's gone for. Good. Dad's jaw clenched. We assumed she'd come back. We thought she'd inherit this place. You assumed wrong, I said flatly. Mom's voice cracked. Andrian, please. We can't do this without you. The debts, the bills. It's all too much. I stood pushing back my chair. You should have thought of that before you burned every bridge I built for you. I have a job now, a life, people who respect me. Dad's voice rose desperate. This is family. Family helps each other. I turned to him, eyes cold. Where was that family loyalty when you fired me? When you dismissed everything I said? When you chose her over me every single time? The silence that followed was deafening. I walked out without looking back. That night, as I sat in my apartment, I realized something. I hadn't just escaped a job, I'd escaped a cage, and I wasn't going back. 6 months after that desperate meeting at the restaurant, the news came quietly, almost like gossip, whispered across the industry. Cross Family Grill has closed, a colleague told me over coffee. Building sold. Heard the owners couldn't pay their debts. I nodded, not surprised. Still hearing it aloud carried a strange weight. The place where I had spent nearly a decade of my life, the place I had poured blood, sweat, and sleepless nights into, was gone. The legacy my grandfather built had been sold off like a pawned heirloom. A week later, my cousin called. Adrian thought you should know. Your parents had to sell the house too. They're in some small apartment across town now. I sat silently gripping the phone. My parents, once so proud, reduced to renters living on scraps. And Lila, I asked. She called them last month. Said she's engaged to some French guy, staying in Paris permanently, doesn't plan on coming back. I laughed, a hollow sound that caught in my throat. Of course she wasn't coming back. Why would she? She got everything she wanted handed to her. Everything they thought would anchor her had been wasted, and the restaurant, their sacrifice, their obsession, was gone. A few days later, Mom called me directly. Adrian, her voice wavered. Can we meet your father and I? We'd like to fix our relationship. I closed my eyes. Now you want to fix it? We know we made mistakes, she said quickly. We want to make things right. I clenched the phone. If I decide I want to talk, I'll call you. But right now, I don't. Adrian, please. Mom, I cut her off. My voice steady. I have a job I love. People who respect me. A life that isn't drowning in constant drama. I'm happy. And that's something I never had with you. Silence. Then a quiet sob. I hung up. At Meridian, my star kept rising. Months rolled into a year, and then James summoned me into his office again. Adrian Corporate's expanding. 3 new locations opening over the next 2 years. They want someone to oversee them all. I blinked. Regional manager. He grinned. Exactly. Better pay, more responsibility, more recognition. You've earned it. For a moment, I couldn't speak. All I could think about was Dad's voice calling me ungrateful. Mom dismissing my warnings, Lila laughing that restaurant work wasn't creative. And here I was, a regional manager. Not because of them, in spite of them. I extended my hand to James. I'll take it. That night, I sat by my apartment window, the city glowing below me. I thought about the arc of it all, the rise, the collapse, the betrayal, the freedom. Sometimes I felt sadness. My grandfather had built that restaurant from nothing. If managed right, it could have been something truly special. But bad decisions piled on bad priorities, and in the end, they burned it to ash. I thought about Mom's tears, Dad's empty eyes, Lila's glittering Parisian life. And I thought about me finally free, finally seen. The truth was, you can't save people from themselves, not if they refuse to listen, not if they insist on setting fire to the very foundation you built for them. Weeks later, I walked past the old restaurant building. A new sign hung over the door, Golden Lotus, modern Asian cuisine. The windows gleamed, fresh paint covered the walls. Customers laughed and sighed, waiters carried trays with practiced ease. It was strange standing on the sidewalk where I had once poured my youth into sweat and sacrifice. I pressed my hand to the glass for a moment as if saying goodbye. Then I turned and walked away. Freedom wasn't always about running towards something. Sometimes it was about walking away, knowing you'd given enough. My parents had chosen to gamble everything on my sister. She chose Paris over family. That was their story to live with. As for me, I had written my own ending. Now when I look in the mirror, I don't see the exhausted son who once lived in his parents' shadow. I see Adrian Cross, regional manager, respected professional, a man who clawed his way free from betrayal. And sometimes late at night, I whisper a quiet truth to myself. They fired me, and it was the best thing that ever happened.